You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
Hey, everybody. I wasn't exactly sure if I was going to be here today. Not because I'm feeling bad. I'm still improving. I'm getting better. But I was waiting on a call to see if I was the new Prime Minister of Britain. Turns out that might just happen tomorrow, so we'll find out. Stick around for the Dan Wickline Show. Now, I know what you guys are thinking after that cold open. Dan, you can't be Prime Minister of Britain. You're an American. Well, it turns out that something very few people know is my mother was born in Gloucestershire. So, yeah, I could get your British citizenship like that. So, yeah, they call me. I'm going to go run the country. I feel it would be my duty, you know, and I don't think I could do any worse than Bojo. Yeah. And I definitely have better hair than him. My God. All right. Welcome to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. And today we've got a couple different topics, but the main one is I wanted to address some images that have popped up online over the last few days having to do with Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Got a name picked out for your something gate? I'm sure the press would come up with something pretty quickly for me. But yeah, I wanted to talk about the images we're getting for Black Panther Wakanda Forever. And it's not on the new Black Panther. That would be huge news if we could actually tell who the new Black Panther is going to be. Now, we know they're not going we know they're not going to recast Chadwick Boseman out of honor of his passing. So they will address it somehow in the movie, and they say they're not going to do like a digital double like Star Wars did, where they, you know, bring another actor in and digitally manipulate it. But there has to be a way that they can explain T'Challa no longer being alive and no longer being Black Panther. Now, maybe they don't say he's dead, maybe he's missing, I don't know. But they are going to have to address that somehow. And I've heard conflicting rumors on how they're going to move forward. I know in the comics, Shuri takes over as Black Panther. And there was a lot of talk about letting Letitia Wright do that. You know, her becoming the new Black Panther. But there has also been some issues with social media with her. T'Challa went back to his home planet. And T'Challa is living up on a farm. And, you know. So there's also been rumors that they may let Winston Duke, or his character of M'Baku, become the new Black Panther. And I loved Winston Duke in the first one. I thought M'Baku was great. You know, I thought he was a terrific character, and I like Winston Duke overall. He did an amazing job as Batman in the Spotify audio drama. If you guys haven't listened to that, Batman Unburied, that is really entertaining. I enjoyed that quite a bit. And it's free on Spotify, so if you haven't checked it out, nice Simpsons riff. So what we are going to talk about is the bad guys, or the potential bad guys, because it looks like, and there's been rumors about it for a long time now, that Wakanda is going to go up against Atlantis, and that the bad guy is going to be Namor the Submariner, and his Atlanteans like Atuma, his right-hand man, and Namorita. And those are the images that have been leaked. Now, we had heard that an actor from Narcos was going to be playing Namor, a guy named, and I may be mispronouncing his first name, but I believe it's Tinoch Huerta. And he was a regular on Narcos. And he's been in a lot of stuff. He was in a wrestling series called Blue Demon. But the guy is a very talented actor. And of course, it's his image that we're seeing in this. But before we bring it up, the other thing we've been hearing is that there's a chance that they're going to tie Atlantis into the Mayan culture. And there's a couple reasons they want to do that. One of which is DC already has Aquaman out. And there's a lot of similarities between Namor and Aquaman. And I'm going to get into the breakdown of all of that in a minute. But Namor was first. Let's get that out there. Actually, let me go ahead and give you a little history on Prince Namor. So the Submariner, a.k.a. Namor Mackenzie, and I wouldn't be surprised if they don't change the name, the last name, if they are going to go with the Mayan background. But he first appeared in a book called Marvel Comics #1. Now, this wasn't technically for Marvel because they weren't Marvel Comics yet. When they became Marvel because of this book. This was their first superhero book back when they were still called Timely Comics. And that had a cover date of October of 1939. Now, he was created by a writer-artist named Bill Everett. Now, you may be more familiar with Bill Everett for his later creation working with Stan Lee on Daredevil. He was the first artist on Daredevil, he and Wally Wood. So Bill Everett, then Wally Wood came in. But he had originally done it for a different comic. The Submariner was created for Motion Picture Funnies Weekly, which was a giveaway that was going to be sent out to all of the movie theaters. But and that was for a group called Funnies Inc. that just repackaged comic books. They took comic strips and repackaged them into comic books and sent them out. And this was, like I said, this was a giveaway comic, but it fell through. So Everett had this character called Namor that he wanted to use. And he came up with the name Namor because he started writing out what he thought were very masculine sounding words and writing them out backwards. And Namor was the one he liked the most because of, Roman. Which is ironic because years and years and years later, Rob Liefeld decided to create a character exactly like the Submariner and called him Roman. But he took Namor over to Timely, and he appeared alongside the original Human Torch. And so this was the two first superheroes to ever appear at Marvel. He was later joined by Captain America, by Kirby and Simon. And, that was Timely's superhero books. And they ran through the 40s. And, now, he debuted 2 years before DC created Aquaman. Now, Namor is a mutant. He's the son of a human sea captain and a princess of the Lost Kingdom of Atlantis. Sounds a lot like Aquaman, doesn't it? He possesses super strength and aquatic abilities, but that comes from his, what they call Homo Myrminus side. While his power of flight is actually that's part of his mutant abilities. So that's his Homo superior side. Now, the character has also been portrayed as either an anti-hero or a straight-up villain. You guys know Les Daniels, the comic historian? He once said that Namor was a freak in the service of chaos. Although the Submariner acted like a villain, his cause had some justice, and readers reveled in his assaults on civilization. His enthusiastic fans weren't often offended by the carnage he created as he wrecked everything from ships to skyscrapers. So basically, fans loved the fact that he just destroyed stuff because he had this sense of justice. And even though he came across as a villain or an anti-hero, they liked that. So it's part of what made him popular. But like a lot of characters in that areas, when sales dipped, he disappeared, only for Marvel to find a way to bring him back. Now, they brought back Captain America in Avengers #4. Well, they brought back Namor in Fantastic Four #4 in 1962. And the story was that the Human Torch, the Johnny Storm version, not the Jim Hammond version, discovers him as an amnesiac homeless guy living in the Bowery section of Manhattan. And I think he uses his flames to burn off the beard and trim the hair, and reveals the pointy ears and all that. Now, Torch helps him regain his memory, and Namor, of course, heads out to find his home of Atlantis. But he's been gone a long time. And by the way, this was the first time they actually identified it as Atlantis. So before that, he was all this stuff, but they never had said it was Atlantis. So that's where it gets a little gray, because he might have not have been the Prince of Atlantis. He was just a prince of an undersea kingdom. So, but when he gets back to Atlantis, he finds it's been destroyed by nuclear testing. And this kind of sets him on his new path in the Marvel Universe, where he's looking for the remnants of his people and get revenge on humans. Now, again, most of his adventures, he was sometimes a villain or an anti-hero, but there was a time that Marvel did a series along with the two other timely superheroes of Captain America and the Human Torch. And then they added two sidekicks, Bucky, of course, from Captain America, and Toro, who was the human sidekick of the android Torch. And they worked as a group called the Invaders, and they fought Nazis in World War II. But Namor's been around for a lot of years. And he's a very interesting character. He's a character that a lot of people have wanted to see in the MCU. There was some interesting problems, though, because at the time, his rights were owned by another company, and I think it was Columbia. So like Hulk has distribution issues with Universal, or, Fox had the X-Men, and Daredevil was over at New Line. Columbia had Submariner, or Namor. So, but I guess within the last few years, that finally reverted back to Marvel. So they have the rights to Namor. So now let's take a look at the images that have released. Now, these are from a site that normally posts the images when they're released of merchandising photos. So these are the type of things that you'll see on toy boxes and lunch boxes and things like that. So they're not known for putting up photos or images that aren't legit. So there's always a chance these aren't real, but the likelihood is, I'd say on the site that they are. So, all right, let's take our first look at Prince Namor. Now, as you can see, there is a heavy Mayan feel to the character. You can see in the belt, in the bracers, arm bracers and armbands. Also, he's got a chest. I don't even know what you would call that. The neck piece or shoulder piece. And he's got large earrings, and he's got a nose. The image is a little small, but he's also got like a jade bar through his nose. So they're definitely leaning into the Mayan culture here. All right, let's take a look at his right-hand man, Atuma. Now, this looks pretty badass to me and is pretty close to Atuma, but this looks more like he's just, when he kills something under the water, he uses the skeletons to build his armor. You know, the head looks like a hammerhead shark, the shoulder pads and all that stuff. It looks like it's fish bones, and I really like this look. This just out and out, I think, is very cool looking. Atuma is kind of the general of the armies of Atlantis. So where Namor is the prince or the king of Atlantis, I don't remember if he's the prince or the king at this point, but he's the boss. Atuma is the guy that runs the army for him. And then there's one other character they have, which is Namorita. Now, this is also heavily Mayan influenced. A lot more feather dress stuff. And I don't know about this because how well would that work underwater? I'm assuming that's not actually feathers. Maybe that's kelp. I don't know. I don't know what that was. Coral? Not quite sure how that would work underwater. Fish fins. Okay. Yeah, I could see it being fish fins. But that's a little more... I don't know about that look. I have to see it in action. But these are pretty interesting. Now, I know a lot of people are probably thinking, why are they leaning into the Mayan culture? Because, I mean, okay, if they're doing it to get away from what Atlantis looks like in Aquaman, that's one thing. But is there a connection? So I did some research this morning. I know there already was, but I did some digging this morning. And, I mean, the question is, what does Mexico have to do with Atlantis? Or the Mayans have to do with Atlantis? Well, for one thing, the quest for the origins of civilization in Mexico have always echoed in Atlantis. The legends of Atlantis comes to us from Plato. And repeating Egyptian history of a fabled land of higher civilizations called Atlantis, they had existed and then died beyond the Pillars of Hercules, according to Plato, which seems to mean somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean. So right there, we're looking like off the coast of either Africa, somewhere between South America and Africa. Okay. Now, if you flip it around, you say, well, where did the Mexican people come from? The accepted theory is that the original primitive settlers came over the Bering Straits and then filtered down along North and South American continent. But many of the Mexican archaeologists fiercely resist any idea that their civilization originated anywhere but right there on their home ground. And they're supported by early archaeologist Sylvanus Morley, who in 1925 advocated that the Mayan civilization had sprung full-blown during the 1st or 2nd century. The idea is that they come from the lost continent of Atlantis, the West Indian remnants of which were called the Island of the Scorpion, or the Mayans know it better as Antilles, the Antille Islands. Now, the first Latin writer of Aztec history was, and I'm never going to get this name right, Ixtlilxochitl, and he's of Aztec lineage, who maintained that the Olmecs, and that's what they call the original Mexican ancestors, had come to eastern Mexico from Antilles via Florida. Now, Robert B. Stacy Judd, who wrote that the Mayan civilization had arrived in Central America as the last large surviving segment of the already fully developed Atlantean Empire from Antilles. The Stonehead for the Legend of Hidden Temple. I don't get that reference. Olmecs. Well, this is with a C. Olmecs, Olmecs, is what the basic name was for the culture, the Mexican, where the Mexican people came from. It's the ancestors of them. So now in the early 1700s, an ex-Jesuit named Don Carlos de Sigüenza y Góngora concluded that the Olmecs had come from the east, maybe from Atlantis, as earlier suggested by Gonzalo Fernandez de Oliveira y Valdez. Sigüenza felt that Atlantis was a group of islands that served as a stepping stones to the west. He was one of the first to recognize the similarities of Mexican and Egyptian pyramids. So they're saying that there's more of a connection there than we thought, and including with the pyramids. Now, in 1845, a guy named Abbé de Brasbourg arrived in Mexico. He was ordained to the priesthood. He was also a journalist and had an appointment as chaplain in the French Navy. This gave him access to official records in Mexico City. Now, he learned Nahuatl, which is an ancient language. The head from that show is based off of head sculptures that the Olmec people carved. Okay. So, yes, that's connected. Well, so he learned Nahuatl to aid in his quest for Atlantis, and that was his purpose, was to find Atlantis. He claimed that Atlantis was the true cradle of civilization, disappearing in a cataclysm in 9937 BCE. And he even claimed that the Latin languages was a derivation of Quiche Maya. Now, the Abbey theorized that the Atlantean continent had originally occupied the Gulf of Mexico, extending into the Caribbean Sea as far as the Canary Islands, but had been destroyed in several disastrous upheavals between 9937 and 10500. Subsequently, upheavals restored parts of the Yucatan, Honduras, and Guatemala. Now, the Abbey even traced the myth of Quetzalcoatl to Plato's Atlantis. So you can see that there are a lot of dots being connected by a lot of people. Now, around 1900, Edgar Cayce, citing readings of past memories, claimed that there were actually two sunken continents, Lemuria in the Pacific and Atlantis in the Atlantic. His assertion was that the Mayan civilization began with refugees from the sinking Atlantis, but was later enhanced by those fleeing the sinking Lemuria. Now, his predictions gained new life when a colossal construct came to light off of Bimini, smack in the middle of the Antilles. So, again, we're coming back to the Antilles as kind of part of Atlantis. Now, these aren't the only ties that seem to connect the Mayan culture to Atlantis, but I think this is enough to show you that Marvel didn't just pull this idea out of thin air. And if this thought had been more prevalent back in 1939 or 1964, then Namor might have been designed with more of a Mayan influence when he first appeared. So when you see Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and if they do have the Mayan influence on Atlantis, and Atlantis is designed to look like an Aztec or Mayan city, then you'll know that this is not, like I said, something that they just pulled whole cloth out of the air. This is something that has been theorized for hundreds of years. So normally when we see Atlantis, it's much more, what's a good way to put it? Caucasian? Anglo-Saxon? It's, glistening cities and men with long beards and flowing robes and, fantasy novels and stuff. Eurocentric. Great word. Eurocentric. But most of what we have that even says Atlantis existed, would lead it towards being either more Mayan or more African in design. So I think letting it borrow from the Mayan design, it's an area that Marvel hasn't really done much with. So I really like the idea. I think it's a good move, and I look forward to seeing what they're going to do with it, how they're going to design it. So I hope this is the direction they're going. Now, it may take some getting used to seeing Namor with a nose ring or nose bar and big pierced earrings, but I think we can get used to it. So I missed the Speedo already. He's wearing a Speedo. Well, he's wearing close to a Speedo. He's wearing shorts. Yeah, I mean, they could have went the other way and done the black outfit with the vest. You know, that was another possibility. So at least this has got green trunks. And he's got his winged feet. It's not in that picture, but there's another picture out there. And I don't know, maybe JD can find it, that shows him both in full body and then another version that has him wearing this leopard-like or cat-like headdress. And the word is that he's supposed to be an avatar for a certain Mayan god. And I don't remember which one, but similar to the way that T'Challa is an avatar for Bast and Moon Knight is an avatar for Khonshu. So he's supposed to be an avatar for a Mayan god. So, but there's a couple more images out there I didn't grab. I should have. But, all right. You know, let's go ahead and take our first break. And when we come back, I'd like to hear what you guys think of the Namor design. And then we may go on and talk a little bit about Only Murders in the Building. So we will be right back.
Comic Collectibles is a pretty straightforward show. You got Rex here, he sells the comics, and you got Rockin' Robbie, he knows about the comics. And finally, John, well, no one really knows what John does. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a great guy, but he just keeps showing up. Come to think of it, I don't even really know how he gets in here. Anyway, awesome comics, rare books, rarer signatures, slabbed books, and amazing cover sketches by Ken Hazer and others. Simple formula. You want the comics? You buy the comics. To sum up, Rex sells the comics, Robbie knows the comics, and John, who might possibly be a ghost. I mean, seriously, has anyone ever seen him show up or leave? Comic Collectibles with Rex and John, Mondays from 6 to 8 Eastern on The Experience. Comic Culture and Sales.
Are you a comic creator? Are you a publisher? Do you make a comic book product? Do you own a retail store? Do you do something I haven't thought of? Who are you and what do you do? Let us know by advertising on The Experience and invite our viewers to patronize your product. Message the EXP on social media or email us the_EXP@yahoo.com for more details.
Welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show. We're talking about the new design for Prince Namor in the upcoming Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, or at least the believed one. And Josh has got an interesting point. He says, to be honest, though, if they're going all in for representation, he's pretty light-skinned in that drawing. Mayan skin tones would have been pretty dark before the conquistadors and subsequent invasions. I agree, but I don't think that the drawing is as accurate because the actor Tenoch Huerta is darker skinned. So I think it'll be okay. He's one you look at and you think, yes, he's definitely Latinx or Latinx. I'm not even sure. Definitely Mexican descent. So, but yeah, that's a good point. But what did you guys think? Do you think, Daniel, you guys okay with them tying into the Mayan culture, or do you think they should stick more to the traditional look of Namor, which was pretty much Mr. Spock from Star Trek? You know, the big arching eyebrows, the big pointy ears. JD, can you bring that image of Namor back up? He does seem to have the pointy ears. So he doesn't have a widow's peak, though. I kind of miss the widow's peak. That's always been a big thing for Namor, that evil-looking widow's peak. So, by the way, it's just completely off topic, but have you guys noticed that as Steven Seagal has gotten older, he suddenly gained a widow's peak? He didn't have one when he was younger, and now all of a sudden he does. I don't know how that works, because I think you're pretty much born with a widow's peak or you're not. I don't think you can gain one unless, I don't know, hair plugs. Just saying. So, all right. So that looks like it's going to be our Prince Namor. The hair on the side of his head just gave up. Yeah. Yes, it did. So, all right. Before we move on, if you guys don't know, we have those little commercials that run, the black ones with the white type. And most of those come from JD, our producer here. And they're always funny. Occasionally, he gets bombarded with emails from me with, hey, I got one. And he humors me by putting them up. But today's about a superhero named Randy. Made me think of, and I don't know if JD knows of this person, there is a comedian an Australian comedian that uses a puppet. And he goes by Randy Feltface. And we never see what the comedian looks like. It's always the puppet. And the puppet is a very normal looking purple puppet. It looks like any standard Muppet. But the guy is hilarious. And there's a particular routine out there that you guys should check out. And it's Randy Buys a Bookcase. And mostly this is for JD, but I think it's on Google or it's on YouTube. But check out Randy Buys a Bookcase. It's a little long, but it's hilarious. And my ex-wife sent me the link to that a while ago. Oh, JD found the link. I watched it and went down a deep, dark rabbit hole of Randy Feltface humor. And the guy is hilarious. He gets into a comedy duo with another guy. It's pretty good stuff. But Randy Buys a Bookcase is just phenomenal. So if you're looking for a good laugh, check it out. Links in the chat. All right, let's go on to our second topic then. The return of Only Murders in the Building. I had a hard time learning the name of that because I thought it was Only Murderers in the Building. And I thought, oh, it means that everybody in the building could be a murderer. There's only murderers in the building. No. It comes from how they decide how they're going to do their true crime podcast. They're only going to try to solve murders that happen in their building. So it's only murders in the building. Well, if you watched the first season, if you didn't watch the first season, you're missing something. You're missing out. This was Steve Martin and Martin Short at their best. Steve Martin plays a former TV actor who was on a long-running police show where he played a cop called Brazos. Martin Short is a former Broadway producer whose last performance almost killed people. And then we get Selena Gomez, who is someone who grew up as a child in the building and was around when someone died in the past, and now someone dies now. And that's the premise for the first season. They're all big fans of these true crime podcasts, and when someone dies in the building, they end up making their own and trying to figure out who the killer is. It's a pretty interesting and twisted series. And it's got some great guest stars. Besides the main three actors, it has Nathan Lane. I should have just pulled up the list, but Sting. Sting cameos as himself. And not just cameos. He appears in it as himself, and it's great. It is a really... Tina Fey is a regular as a competing true crime podcast. There's someone I'm trying to think of, and I can't think of her name. I think it's Jane. Any Chevy Chase for a little Three Amigos reunion? Not yet. No, not Jane Seymour. Short blonde hair. I could just look it up. I do have IMDb open here. I could type in, only murders in the building. Yeah, that would work. And then scroll down a bit. And of course, it doesn't show her. Now that's going to bug me. I know this is thrilling TV, or it's thrilling streaming. Anyway, they had a great first season. Well, second season is just started, and they've added Cara Delevingne, I think it's pronounced, from the first Suicide Squad movie, and a bunch of other things. They've added Amy Schumer. And Amy Schumer is the one that I'm having. Jane Lynch, thank you. I could not figure that out. Jane Lynch. Jane Lynch plays Steve Martin's stunt double in the first season, which I find hilarious. And when you see them, you go, yeah, I could see it. I could totally see it. But the whole first season, the amazing thing is that Steve Martin is playing it pretty serious. And Selena Gomez is playing it pretty serious. Martin Short is playing it for laughs. It's like they'll have a moment where they find a dead body or a huge clue, and you're like, oh my God, it just gets super tense. And immediately Martin Short will make a joke. And it just, the timing is, it's like, oh, we're doing something serious, and oh, nope, we're still in a comedy. Well, they solved the first crime in the first. They solved two crimes. They solved a crime having to do with Nathan Lane, and then they solved the actual murder. One of the things the show did in the first season is they had a deaf character in the show, but they did an episode that was from his point of view. Each episode was from a different character's point of view. The episode that was from his point of view, they did as a silent episode. And it was really well done. So, first season was awesome. Season 2 is dropped. There's 5 episodes out, but I don't want to jump in. Yeah, Martin Short is just got this nailed. There'll be this tense moment where somebody will say something that's very revealing, and they're in tears, and it's this horrific moment. And he'll pull out his microphone saying, "Can you say that again? I think the crying is making it muddled." But so season 2's out, 5 episodes. But I don't want to go too fast with this series because I watched it as it came out last time, and I'm a little behind now. So I watched 2 episodes so far. And one of the characters from season 1 ends up dead at the end of season 1. And these 3 are the people of interest now. So they've gone from trying to solve a true crime to being suspects in a true crime or people of interest in a true crime. And now there's that competing true crime podcast is trying to do a crime podcast about them. So there's a lot of these angles going on. But now that they've gotten some popularity, both from the podcast they did and from being arrested and taken in, their lives are starting to move faster. The network is asking about doing a reboot of the Brazos series with Steve Martin's character. Martin Short's character is approached by Amy Schumer about selling the rights to the story. And Selena Gomez's character is being wooed by a collective of artists to become part of it. So they've all got these things that are now moving forward. And Cara Delevingne, I'm never going to get her name right. The Enchantress from Suicide Squad is the one that's trying to enchant Selena Gomez. Well, the building manager, the co-op manager, Bunny Folger is the one who dies. And they look like they're the murderers. And it just starts going from there. What I love about this season, though, is that where the first one seemed to be kind of personally involving Selena Gomez, this one has immediately started seeming to be personal to Steve Martin's character, because Charles Hayden Savage, because there's a nude painting done by this famous painter who died mysteriously, who lived across the street from the building, the Arcadia, that the painting ends up missing at a Bunny's house. It's supposed to be worth $1 million. It ends up in Charles's apartment. And we find out that this painting is a nude woman and a man wrapped around her, kind of holding her leg and stuff. Well, the man is Charles's father. And he remembers going with his dad and waiting outside with the doorman while his dad was in there, and his dad got arrested. So this whole personal connection, and it's just, there's some really good stuff already being laid out in just the first 2 episodes. So I'm going to watch more of it because I want to cover it over as it goes, because I think it's a brilliant show. And we don't get a lot of murder mysteries anymore on TV. It used to be all the time, but now we just, we get your Law and Orders and your NCISs, but we don't get more of a, like when Poirot was on PBS, or we don't have as many of those, or Murder, She Wrote, especially one that is over a season, a murder over a season. So I really enjoy this. And it's funny to me because the murder mystery is kind of making a comeback. We have the Agatha Christie murders, the Hercule Poirot stuff with Kenneth Branagh. He's done 2 of those. There's already talk of a 3rd. Then we have Knives Out and the upcoming sequel this year, Glass Onion. Well, Only Murders in the Building is the same thing, but it's got that humor aspect to it. And it's a little different. It's not what even Knives Out had a bit of humor in it, but this one has a lot more. And it's just it's a cast you wouldn't have expected. I mean, Steve Martin and Martin Short, yeah. They've worked together before. They'll work together again. They do shows together. They've been in Three Amigos. That makes sense. Selena Gomez is the one that kind of went, wait, what? How did she? But she works off of them flawlessly. Like she's been working with them for years. It is a really good show. I'm enjoying it. And I only had, like I said, I watched 2. I'm probably going to watch a couple more tonight, depending. I also watched the new Miss Marvel, which we'll talk about tomorrow. But Only Murders in the Building, if you're not watching it, you definitely should be. So, all right, we're going to take our second break, and we will come right back. And I want to tell you about something special coming up right after this show. So stick around. We'll be right back.
Did you know that every Experience show, including some exclusive content, streams on Twitch? Check it out, twitch.tv/the_EXP. Or just scan that QR code. There's a super new way to support your friends over at The Experience. Head over to YouTube and send us a super chat, a super sticker, or a super thanks. We'll be super grateful for your support. And then keep an eye out as we launch membership services over on YouTube. It'll be a great way to get first look access at new content and shows before anybody else. Keep your eyes peeled and make sure you're following us on YouTube.
Imagine being at a convention and going to an interview panel that's just for you. No bustling crowds, no hours-long lines, just you, the moderator, and your favorite comic book creators. Well, this is pretty much that. Miss Jen sits down every week with 2 comic book creators for a live stream interview about their latest work, and you can ask them whatever you want. It's Talking Shop, Mondays at 5 Eastern on The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales.
There's something for every imagination at your local comic shop. Visit comicshoplocator.com to find a store near you.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. We've already talked about Prince Namor today and Only Murders in the Building. What I want to talk about now is what's coming up next. Because The Boys is coming to an end. Season 3 ends this Friday. Comics Collectibles, which airs right after this show, has got something big today. What they're going to do is, if they get 50 plus live viewers during the show, they're going to give away a complete set of The Boys omnibuses. So you could get, it's the 3 hardcover omnibuses, it looks like, from what they're giving away. Those are huge. They retail for like $99 each, and there's 3 of them. And they're going to give that away if they can get 50 live viewers. Now, if they can get 70 plus live viewers, they're going to give away the set. They're also going to give away a set that are signed by Garth Ennis and Derek Robertson. Those are even more impressive. Now, if they can get 100 plus viewers, which isn't really that much when you think about it, 100 plus viewers, not only will they give away the 2 sets, the signed set and the regular set, they're going to give away 2 signed photo cards. One of Erin Moriarty, who plays Starlight, and the other of Anthony Starr, who plays Homelander. And you can see, yeah, JD got him up there pretty quickly. Cool. So they'll be giving both of those away if they get to 100 plus viewers. So that's going to start just minutes from now. So if you're watching, leave it on. You could get a chance to win these things if enough people sign on. I mean, just to have the full run of The Boys, that's incredible. I mean, and even if you've watched all the shows, the comics are so different. It's like a completely different story with just characters you're familiar with. So stick around for that. That starts in 7 minutes. Just leave it on, or go watch that, and maybe you'll win. And you never know. They've got a lot of really good books coming up too. They've got some Ken Hazer art, original commissioned art. They've got a Batman and Robin. They've got a Spider-Ham. They've also got signed books by Adam Kubert, Mark Brooks, Brian Michael Bendis, and Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo signed Batman. So some really good stuff coming up. Stick around for that. I will be back tomorrow to talk about Miss Marvel. We just had the penultimate episode. If you haven't had a chance to watch it yet, it's a it's a good episode. It wasn't quite what I expected. I kind of expected them to spend like a few minutes in the past and then get us back to deal with, because there's a lot of things they have to wrap up in 2 episodes. This did it differently. And now going into the final, I'm not sure what we have left to deal with. I mean, there's a couple things left, but they actually deal with some of the big stuff in this episode. So it's well worth watching. I'm loving the family aspect and the cultural aspect of the series. And this is big on that. This is a really good episode. I really liked it a lot. So I will probably watch it again before tomorrow's show, just so I have it fresh in my head. JD says they also have some amazing Bronze Age Thor for sale to celebrate Thor Love and Thunder. There you go. Thor Love and Thunder comes out this weekend. So they'll be putting some of that up as well. So you could get some good books. You could definitely stick around. You might win something. What's better than that? It's like free lotto tickets. Just stick around, leave your computer on. So, all right, guys, I think we're going to wrap it up there. We will be back tomorrow, like I said, to talk about Miss Marvel. And next week, we will talk about the Boys finale, the Miss Marvel finale, probably some more Only Murders in the Building, and see what else comes up. I'm going to try to get over and see Thor Love and Thunder on Monday. So if I do, then we will talk about that as well. So thank you for watching. And like I said, stick around, watch Comics Collectibles with Rex, John, and Rock and Robbie from AR Comics. See you tomorrow.
Get the inside scoop on everything happening at the experience every week. Join our mailing list by scanning the QR code at the bottom of the screen and then watching your email.